What is up, guys? This is Alex and First Figures.
Hey everyone, this is Chuckles.
Who do we have here? FULLMETAL Alchemist, Brotherhood, Alphonse,
Elric!
Hey, that's a bit of a mouthful.
Wow, finally.
Absolutely, Chocks. It has been one of the longer pieces in development. We announced FULLMETAL Alchemist back, wait for it, 2 years ago.
2016.
2 years ago we mentioned that, so this has been one of the more lengthy ones, but boy is it good to finally be here. So close to FMA Day as well, of course everyone knows that's the 3rd of October, and we announced this piece that we would be going up for pre-order for this piece on, of course, FMA Day at what time, Chocks?
4:01.
You best believe.
4 o'clock, 1 minute past 4 o'clock.
There you go. And if you know anything about FULLMETAL Alchemist, which I hope you guys do know about that, boom, you know that is obviously a significant time. Never forget. Never forget, Chocks. Look at the big boy. He's a beast. A big boy in all definitions of that word.
This is going to be a very interesting documentary, guys.
Is it?
It will be an interesting documentary.
Alright, we better make sure we make it interesting then.
Yeah.
Let's get that spinning on his own.
Alright.
Alright, Chocks. So tell me, we have some questions. Now, where do these questions come from?
Before we start the question, guys, if you're an anime fan, if you're first time checking us out, First for Figures, yes, we do make anime statues.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we've done some in the past, but you know, this is a new one for us as well. So this is going to be a new product in the new line. So guys, thanks for joining. If you've never heard about us, please do join our First for Figures official collectors club on Facebook. In there, we'll talk about anything anime related. If you have any interest in other anime products, do let us know in there. Leave us a comment in the message in the video below as well. So we'll check those out for sure. And yeah, hope you enjoy this documentary where we go through the making of Alphonse. We'll go through some of the questions that you ask us in the Collectors Club. So make sure you ask those questions in the club every time we do a launch. I'll make a post in the club. In there, you ask away, and we'll choose those questions and answer those in this video.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Please enjoy.
So we do have questions, right?
We do have questions, so I'm ready. I'm ready when you're ready.
Boom, all right then.
Excuse me, guys, I have a cough, but must go on. All right, first question from Trev Hodgman. What did you give up in exchange for this license? Was it really of equal value?
The principle of equivalent exchange, Chocks, is throughout the entire series, and of course, alchemy, it's a scientific approach. You give away something, something must be given in return to get what you want. Either be lead to go into gold, I'll be up for that. £1 for lead for £1 of gold, I'll be up for that. Would you, Chocks? I'll be up for that. But of course, what have we given for this? The equivalent exchange here is clear. Just have a look at how we looked back in October. You put on pounds, I've lost my hair. I believe that is equivalent exchange right there, Chocks. It's
2 years worth.
And you know, definitely, Chocks, I had a much bigger thing going on over here, but it is what it is. The sacrifice we've got to do. Now, some people give an arm and a leg for that, so I think we got away okay. I think we just about, but you know, it is 1-for-1 exchange right there.
Definitely. I mean, for what it's worth, 2 years of effort into this project. You know, for our new anime products, it's definitely worth the wait. We hope anyway. Hope you guys been excited for this one as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question from David Kurt. Were there any earlier concepts of ideas you had for Alphonse that ended up being scrapped in favour of the design you ultimately went with?
Well, you know what, Chocks, that's a great point. And if we talk a little bit about, Alphonse, and we talk a little bit about when we announced FMA, we actually talked about running a poll in the club about some of the pose choices that we had. So I think it's probably a good time to talk about the pose.
Yeah. I mean,
so do we just want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, just do a little bit of explanation about pose. I mean, when we first announced it, we asked you guys, because we didn't really have much clue about anime back then, and we thought, hey guys, why don't you get involved with the whole process of selecting the pose, and this is where Alex makes those pose in the Collectors Club, and then we'll present 4 or 5 different ideas, and then you guys will just select A, B, C, D, E, etc. And then it's ultimately it was kind of like a people's project as well. A lot of fan feedback was put into this one.
Absolutely. So you know, of course, Chogs, it was this pose that actually won of the different choices that we had. And of course, he's got this really great stance. He's really low down. Yeah. He's got
kind
this
of a
hand
ready fighting pose. Yeah.
Absolutely. So he's not. How do I say? It's that, as you said, it's almost like when you're doing a martial art where you're just before, or how should I say, in fighting games, just before it goes round one, just before you start, right? And he's got that karate chop hand going on. He's got his right hand with a fist there. You know, that's definitely really one that the club was really pushing for, and that's the one that we went with. And you know, I think it really suits him. You see a lot of official art with him doing this pose as well, and it definitely sort of adds and sort of added towards that. Now, in terms of any other earlier concepts, well, you know, having announced FMA quite early on and worked sort of showing the guys in the club, those were the points of having these different concepts, because it was quite overwhelming in this design for the pose from the pole. It meant that we didn't really have to worry about earlier concepts that we changed. I mean, there were some few tweaks here and there, but that was more about the scenery or the base, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. But yeah, you know, in terms of having concepts that then was scrapped or going back and forth, there wasn't too much of that. It's pretty straightforward.
I think like a lot of people wanted. It was kind of like going through every single step. Was you like a static pose or an action pose? And
this is almost like a museum pose in between the action pose and the museum pose. It's kind of like right in between. Looks great.
Yeah. All right. Next question from Michael Pillett. What was the most challenging part about designing this statue?
You know, there were definitely some instances of this that was quite challenging, I think. The first is just really dealing with the size of him, and the fact that he is so big. It really was more about, how do I say this, Jogs? It's about trying to understand how to maximize the value for a piece. A lot of the challenge isn't about making the piece look like the character or the textures, you know, that sort of stuff that we do day in, day out, Jogs. It's more about what we're known for. We're known for being, hopefully you agree with us here, for being, quite frankly, good value for money. And it's about the balance between the pricing of the SRP against the piece that you get in terms of, does it have a correlation, and is it a positive correlation? Is it a way that we find that, you know, it follows the principles that we have here at First Figures, where it's always good value for money. And that was really challenging. Really challenging that you're limiting the creativity of a piece in order to hit a certain price point, in order to make it accessible. Now, look, don't get me wrong, I could make Alphonse, you know, make it simple, no change, I just made it bigger. Just simply made it much bigger, 1/3 scale, whatever scale we wanted to make it. You know, doing that really means that it's limiting in terms of who can actually afford it. So, because we know there's a lot of FULLMETAL Alchemist fans, we wanted to make sure that Alphonse was accessible as possible, but still having the imposingness that, of course, that is Alphonse, and sort of going into that. And that was a real challenge. A real challenge of trying to get that balance right. And hopefully you guys agree that we followed that principle with this. So that was definitely the most challenging thing.
I mean, I just want to touch on that. I mean, I agree with for the pricing, because like I said, you want to have the focus on the character, where here, that's why you see Alphonse in this scale. Whereas if you were to like focus on the base, where it was 70% of the base and 30% of the character, we will have members who will say, I bought Alphonse because I wanted Alphonse,
not a base.
Yeah,
with a bit of Alphonse.
Right, that's right. Yeah. So a lot of focus was on that kind of concept, trying to get the value for money for our consumer base. So
it's like how much ketchup do you put on your fries?
Right. Not enough when there's a lot of fries.
Well, what I'm saying is sometimes if you see people literally drown their let me know in the comments if you're someone who drowns your your fries in ketchup or your chips in ketchup.
Do let us know if you agree with how you think this is. I mean, like I said, now we've shown the whole Alphonse here. I hope you feel that this is kind of like a centerpiece. You really want to focus on Alphonse rather than on the bass.
You walk into a room, the first thing you see is Alphonse, and then your eyes travel down, and then you see the bass. That is what we need to see. If the first thing you walk into the room and you see is a bass, and then your eyes, oh, there he is, spot Alphonse, that's not what it's about. So it's about value for money in terms of character, also in terms of dealing with the actual SRP and the price point that we try to hit. And a lot's been talked about that, and it's something that was always something that we always try to do with all of our pieces, but it was particularly challenging for Alphonse. No doubt in my mind, one of the more challenging aspects was trying to get that ratio and that balance just right in order to be accessible to as many people as possible.
All right, cool. All right, next question from Michael Lai. Will any parts be done in a more durable material to lower the chance of breakages during delivery?
Well, that's a great question. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the details in certain areas, and I'm going to be honest with you, this actually needs a lot more engineering in different materials at a later stage at the production process time. And for example, I can imagine we're going to be doing this part of the hair needs to be done in a PVC material, and there'll be certain other elements that we need to sort of really go through. There has been breakages already in the prototype stage that we need to improve on some of the aspects of, for example, it's all about the engineering, about how we separate it. For example, some of these cloth straps, again, we'll talk about the details. And maybe what we should do, Trogs, is we'll continue this conversation as part of the next conversation, because that one we're really talking about, well, ask the question we can.
All right, cool. Right, Brendan Rostello, what did you learn from prior anime pieces that you were able to apply to Alphonse?
Right, so that's actually not the question I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. Well, the thing about the anime pieces are usually we wanted to add some, we have this kind of, well, what's this right here? You've got the, we'll call it sort of almost like sketch lines, and they're very, very subtle, and the reason is because there isn't actually much cloth on Alphonse. And the main cloth that you see, of course, on his loin cloth, or this sort of area over here. And can you see them, Chocks?
Yeah.
It's in the grooves. What do you see, Chocks?
Talking about the cloth, right?
Yeah, these things.
Like a kind of like a
sketch lines.
Yeah, sketch lines, like scruff lines.
Now, those are the sort of things that we would normally add for something that's for the animations, for the anime.
So some guys in front, you've got to be really up close. Do check out our much higher res photos on our website later. These you can see the kind of like scruff marks.
Now, as I was saying, there isn't much area that is actually cloth. And we talked a little bit about at the front, we talked about the cloth at the front and the back. There is some bits of kind of like leathery material here, and a little bit on the under armor. Maybe we could add it to there. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. But generally, we try to keep it in the grooves of, let's say, wrinkles in in clothing. That's kind of sort of where we sort of normally do it. But maybe we could enhance it just a little bit more areas. I'm not convinced it should be on the armor itself, but what do you guys think? Should it be on the armor as well? I'm not convinced. It's more about areas where it's kind of got wrinkles, to be honest with you. So maybe a bit more, we're saying these sort of areas, we've got some areas over here, for example, the back over here. That's something we could certainly play with, have a little bit of a play with that, for sure. Cool.
All right then. So that's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, just sorry. Yeah,
that's from Brendan.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure we learned a lot.
No, there's also some other things. A lot of the things that we learn about anime pieces is the head sculpting, which had absolutely zero use for this one. So the answer is, those sort of ideas of how to do the eyes and how to do the nose and the mouth and. In anime ones, you're much more likely to reduce the features, simplify the features of human characters, what are the characters supposed to be. Obviously we did that when we looked at some of our previous pieces. He doesn't have a face in that regard, so that didn't really have as much of a help. And also, to be honest with you, this was almost like this was almost done at the same time as the other. So it's not like we did that one and then we did this one.
Right.
Oh, sorry, we did like, because this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth anime piece we've ever made.
Wow, already. We're on the 5th one now.
We're on the 5th one.
Cool.
Yeah, if you go through it, yeah, 5th, this is the 5th.
This is the 5th.
But they were done at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the stuff that we work on now in our anime ranges is where we have the experience that we've learned from the Alphonses and the pieces earlier. So that's more of an idea of, in terms of what do we learn from the other pieces? Well, the answer is actually not a lot, because we actually were doing it at the same time.
At the same
and
time.
also,
I think we experienced the same issues that we highlighted in the previous documentary.
right, but also the fact that he doesn't have a head is kind of that.
I think
point
the
as well.
majority, I hope anyway, the majority would agree, was like transitioning from 2D to 3D. I think that was a lot of focus on our previous project, or even this one as well. So from 2D to 3D is always going to be a tricky thing when it comes to anime.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question from Jake Mayer. Does this armor contain Ed's blood seal inside?
So, now we can talk a little bit about the details. When we talk about the details, we can talk a little bit more about
Jake's question, yeah?
Michael Lai's question about durability.
Durability as well,
durability
okay,
questions,
yeah,
right?
combine them both.
So, Chucks, cast your eye inside the inner part of his collar at the back. What do you see?
Hold on, what collar? What? It's like I can put my finger all the way in.
Let's turn that to the side. Can we see what you're doing?
I don't break my finger, but look, I can see. You see that, guys?
No, you can't, because your finger's
I have a pen here. Imagine that. That.
And what do you see in there?
That blood. Ruin.
There you go, the blood rune right there, the blood seal.
Circular seal.
Now, we have some great photos of it on the actual
On the website,
on
yeah.
the website, or at least in that
nice
hype
close-up
video
shots,
that Ting's been working on, and maybe we can add sort of, you can sort of see that. But the answer is absolutely, it's there. It's really important to be able to to sort of see that,
and you can see it, guys. If you look through the gap I was telling you about, gives off that floatiness.
So that is what we're talking about, having that kind of floatiness. Now, but the thing about Alphonse, of course, is he is a suit of armor. He's a kid inside a suit of armor, and the armor itself is hollow. Now, of course, we don't want to hear about all the jokes about, oh, you made yourself hollow anyways, right? That's not what we're talking about.
You see, can you hear it, guys? It's like, bang, bang, bang. Sounds like it's hollow.
Right, so in terms of what was really important was very, very important detail of the actual anime, of course, is having that blood seal in the back.
Yeah.
And because it's such an important part of the character, it was important to make sure that you could see it. And a ton of engineering work, and who was asking? Yeah, Mikael was also asking about what was challenging about making this figure, is that whole idea of having it look hollow when of course it isn't, and that was to try and create a floating head. Now, there were a couple of different ways that we could have created the floating head, and the first one was obvious. A pole that went directly from the bottom of the base of the neck,
Middle of the neck,
and then went straight up,
Yeah.
and easy peasy lemon squeezy, there you go, it's floating. The alternative would have been to make it completely like a just a real neck, but painted completely black.
Yeah, like a black.
Yeah, so you can't. I mean, of course you'll see it, but but from a distance it almost looked like, because it's got that beautiful grey armor looking over here and the grey armor on the helmet, it wouldn't be immediately obvious that there was a black sort of neck there. But of course, the moment you create that black neck and you put it there, you're gonna absolutely stop seeing that really important blood seal. And that is, of course, it's integral to his character jokes. It would be a massive disservice to not try and figure out a way to kind of avoid doing that. And so the answer is, the way we did it was actually by having a pole, but it goes to the side. And it's done in a way that it's not really visible from the front. You have to really sort of go and look kind of, I mean, you can't see it from here. You can just about see it at one angle over here. But this angle here, you get a fantastic shot of the blood seal. I can see really, really easily.
With no rod in the way.
Right, with no rod in the way. Might be, I'm sure it's going to be very hard to see it from that angle, but.
And it just gives off that kind of like, oh, this hollowness. Like, how did they make that? You know, because it's hollow in there. Like, from that kind of angle, you have that kind of perception. It's like, is he actually floating?
Right. I mean, of course he's not, but it really like I'm looking here. It looks like it's floating, and looking over here, it looks like it's floating. From here, I can really easily see the blood seal. Right.
Oh, even from above.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a goosey.
Yeah.
Can sort of really see that quite easily. And of course, if you look through the hollowness of his chest, that little design, the little grate, you can see it there easily as well. If you're looking directly from the front.
Yeah.
So that was a challenging thing. We didn't want to do a disservice to people who obviously are a massive fan of Alphonse to not have it there. So the only, I believe we went with the best way, apart from magnets and stuff, which is not possible. This is not something that's possible. And yeah, of course there is a pole there, but it's done in a really
very subtle way.
Subtle way that if you're looking directly at it from the front, it really has this great feeling of floating. Really has a great feeling of floating. Like I'm looking right here, Chocks, from directly over here. There is literally nothing there whatsoever that is showing me that it's in the that there's a pole there at all. Cool.
All right. Oh,
let's talk a little bit. I think this is a great question to talk a little bit about those details, Chocks. Do you want to go from the top to the bottom?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so again, guys, nicely sculpted head. The eyes painted in there with white and red around the edges of the eyes. Give off that feeling that been activated or it's been
that there's a soul inside.
That's right. And then all textured as well. Textured around pretty much the entire armor, the helmet. As though it's been in some rough patches, so it's all scratches, all lines, all scuffs. That's texture-wise, so that's all throughout the entire body of armor, shoulders. So I wouldn't say there's layers and layers and layers, but there's like chunks. It's like pieces, like just how like armors are kind of like overlapping each other. Protecting everything.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look, for example, at the details of the shoulders going onto the bicep, you can see, of course, there's a higher level. And it gives you can imagine some movement there. Yeah. And it's full of, you notice all of these, I mean, if you count them, there's tons of them, but these little rivets and bolts all over it.
Yeah, around the edges.
You can see it around the
where?
Slow him a bit. Is that as slow as it goes? Yeah, slow it down. You can sort of see it around the sides of his helmet. You can see the bolts there. You can see the bolts going throughout all of his arms.
Yeah.
And it's, as I said, it's almost like it's connecting the armor together, so it's kind of like swiveling it around, and you can, it has that for it. Can you tell me a little bit about the textures of the pieces going on the straps? Some of those small, subtle areas that is not armor, you also have some textures. Basically, it's top to bottom covered in texture.
Yeah.
It's so even the parts of almost like the inner part. So we have this kind of texture over here and going on the straps, Chocks.
Yeah. All in different colors as well, guys. I mean, it's like right here, it looks like on the screen, it's just kind of like, I think you can tell the difference anyway. On the screen, there's different shades of grays. And then there's blue highlights around the edges as well. I mean, one of his points like the knee and the elbows, the much prominent on the screen. You can see right here with the spike sticking out. Pretty much all the edges and the lines have different shades of blue, and black wash between the actual within the texture lines as well.
Absolutely.
And those belts, they have stitchings, gives off the leathery look to it. Each individual stitches are painted.
Yeah, that's pretty tough as well.
Yeah, and then I guess the kind of cloth wrap between the upper arm and the lower arm. Yeah, there's a different type of texture there.
It's more like a cloth one. It's more similar to the cloth at the front.
And that's kind of in a different colour as well. More of a green, dark green with some black wash on that as well.
Yeah. There are definitely a bit of a few tweaks that I need to make, of course. One is, I think this needs to be a little bit more matte. I'm looking at it right now. Maybe it's just because of the strength of the studio lighting here, but I think that needs to be a little bit more matte because it's blending too much with the colours of the suit of armour. So I want to make that a little bit lower in terms of brightness, in terms of reflection.
Right, for the cloth, yeah?
Yeah, for the cloth. Let's have a quick look underneath that.
Just making sure there's textures in there as well, guys. For the inner cloth.
Absolutely. Now, Chocks, of course, we also have Edward's symbol on the shoulder.
Yeah.
You see that, Chocks?
Definitely there, yeah. Left shoulder here.
Yeah, not on the right shoulder, right side. And it's, as you were saying, I mean, I'm not sure how much you can see it, it's definitely got that variant of the textures, also of the colouring in there. And, you know, there's definitely some things to slightly tweak, as I said. One of the things would be just to make that a bit more matte. I would like to sort of see how that looks.
And the gloves, guys, the hands, they're all different textures as well.
Absolutely, and you also see that as well on this piece over here on the front, on the other hand, and really wanted to make sure. And there's almost like, is it too much texture? And one of the problems is, do you think it's going to be a bit too much in terms of if it's gone beyond where anime is really kind of simplistic in the way that it's portrayed on screen? Have we gone too far? And I think ultimately it's actually okay. I think we've gone just about right in terms of having some texture. Obviously there's a lot of texture, but it's counteracted by these bright, bold, colourful colours. That really is more what the anime is all about, and having those lines as well, you can definitely get a feeling that it's okay, especially if you look at it from afar. You have these big, bold colours, and I think ultimately we're good to go with that. I'm happy with the way that's come out. You know, in terms of the ratio between anime versus the piece itself, in terms of the way we've added the extra details on it.
Yeah, and also these sculpted hairline as well, the hairpiece.
Of course, and you know, obviously, you know, his plume, we'll call it, goes and changes in height, in length throughout the actual series. But you know, we've obviously gone for one where it's given this beautiful way to have some dynamism in there, and just to have that beautiful flow. For sure,
looks good.
Whew, there's a lot of details in there, Chocks.
That's what I'm saying. So a lot of attention has been put on Alphonse for this particular piece.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
We're talking about the bass.
No, I think we can. Sure. Go ahead. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Sorry.
So the bass. Surprisingly, I quite like this bass. It might be very simple, but when you look at
surprisingly, well, you have designed it, so I hope so.
No, what I meant is that the way it's painted and turned out.
Right.
It caught me by surprise because you know, we've had some new painters in the workshop, and this is one of their first.
That's a whole another video.
But you know, as time goes, I mean, obviously we're known for gaming statues. We're working at anime statues.
Right.
Obviously, we have more qualified staff improving their skills, and this is one of the outcomes. I'm very surprised in that kind of sense. Not surprised that it turned out well, right? Paint job wise, this is one of my favourites. It might look very simple on the screen, but here, let's talk about the sculpt first. Where you can see the trunks, the roots coming out of the ground. If you guys watch the anime, I think you might know which scene this is from. You can see the kind of a brown turf, kind of been through a battle. You can see the dents, the rubbles sticking out the ground. Shape shifting, turning. You can see the
different heights as well.
Heights, the moth moss, sorry, on top of the greenery as well, on top of the rocks. Different tones of paints.
And you see the little dots on there as well, Chocks. It's not just one single brown
Yeah,
colour,
that's what I'm saying.
it's all over
really,
it.
like from a distance, from afar, it looks really, really good. And up close, it still retains that kind of detail when you look at it. So, you know, props to the painter, for sure.
Yeah, you know, the team's done a great job. And, you know, you could definitely see some of the rocks in between there, adding, because it could have been quite easy just to have made it too barren, to make it too simplistic. But it's just got just the right where it has some detail, but the focus is still on Alphonse, but it's done in a way that it's really highlights the piece.
Because in anime, like, all they do is just add some, you know, the 2D drawing will be just kind of like a simplified brown and then just very very
like
very
a few
simple.
rocks here and there,
a few rocks here and there,
yeah.
But having this in the detail, it just blends in well with Alphonse, and
it really does.
Yeah, the paint work on that is done. Yeah, the paint's done really good.
Done really, really well. Now, if we keep going further down, Chocks. Now, of course, what do we have there at the very, very front? We have this beautiful badge, and in it, it's almost like a shield. And in it, of course, we have the blood seal, the blood rune right there. The same thing that you see, of course, in the back of his neck. And it's really all about Alphonse there. You've got that beautiful, beautiful design in it.
Nice little emblem there.
Yeah, we would definitely have the emblem of Ed, of course. Spoiler alert, he's coming.
Ed?
Of course. Ed was coming, of course, and he would have his in there, and it would make it quite sort of consistent with that. Now, what do we have at the bottom here, Chocks? We have, if we give that a spinneroonie, we have the wording and the design of the transmutation circle. Looks excellent. I like the way that it's been done. If you look at any of the actual official artwork, there's actually a few different ones.
Yeah.
But this is the one that's on the covers, and the way that the spacing of the letters are, getting it added all the way around. Now, of course, it's not on the actual. It's not like the transmutation circles is on here. It's just this is just representative of the actual piece itself of the anime. It's nothing to do with the upper part. This part over here is representing FULLMETAL Alchemist. So it will allow for us to be consistent in having a base that's similar to Edward, where he also has this going around. So all of a sudden you're putting them next to each other and they're going to look fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So you can get a better idea of how that is. We have some loud neighbours right now.
And it's not, I mean, from the screen, sure, you can see the text going around the base. But the paint job on the base, the silver, let's call it the edges, the rim, it has a very nice sheen to it. Yeah, it has some weathering, and it's not smooth as well. It's like this whole battle scene. It has like dents, you know, cuts. It feels like sometimes it's like kind of like electricity burn marks. It has like stainings.
So this is FULLMETAL Alchemist, and we wanted to have a little homage to the name, so we actually made it sort of metal looking for that part. And of course, this part over here, we've got it in this transmutation circle. Now, one of the things, and obviously you're not going to see it here, but if you turn off the lights, Chocks, you'll see that there is this beautiful glow-in-the-dark effect on the wording and all the symbols where you see it going across over there. It has a lovely little glow. Once you obviously need to charge it up with a bit of light, and then if you turn off the lights, it will have a nice glow to it.
It's a nice glow. Blue glow.
A nice blue glow.
Blue glow.
That's for sure.
It really kind of complements with the blueness, you know, the kind of a blue wash around this body armor.
Yeah, right. So, absolutely. And again, you're not going to see it in here. You're in the dark but you definitely can see it when you're sort of seeing it at night time, and it's just a nice little extra bit that you can have, because you know that those symbols, obviously, those circles, obviously light up, of course. So yeah, you know, it's really cool to be able to have that and bring that to the piece itself, for sure.
Yeah, I hope you guys like the color choice we're here. Hopefully it gives off that kind of anime, that classic 90s feel, right? That kind of, yeah.
Absolutely. Right, cool.
Right, next question. Jeremy Beerson. What is some licensor feedback that helped shape this piece?
So it was mainly, a lot of it was make sure you can see,
right.
or that you include the blood seal at the back.
Okay.
Right? That was something. It was more like these are things that we must sort of pay attention to.
Yeah.
A lot of that was more like that rather than in terms of the design of the base or or that. They also said one of the original things we'd made the legs a little bit too long. We had to make those a little bit thicker on the ankles.
More chunky.
A little bit more chunky.
Big guy.
That's right. So to sort of make that a little bit different.
That.
And that's definitely some tweaks that we did. But overall, mainly it was all about what to pay attention to when we're doing the design process, and working with the committee and Aniplex has been a great experience. So they've been very, very supportive, and it's definitely that was sort of mainly what it was about.
Right, cool. Right, next question from Chris Hildebrand Jr. How did you decide on the exclusive?
Exclusive?
Exclusive to First for Figures?
Oh, I think you're. Certainly for first-time viewers of this Chocks, let's quickly explain what this is. This Chocks
is the regular version. Alright guys, so First for Figures.
Can we decide on what the new word is for the regular version? We're going to call it the standard version? The standard version.
Shall we? You want to call that?
What's the better word from regular versus exclusive? The standard division.
Okay.
Standard version.
So do let us know in the comments.
Let us know. There's going to be a tweak of how we're going to call it, but we'll call it regular. Everyone knows what that is for now.
For now, we'll call it that because everyone understands that. If you with us for a long time, you would know that we have a regular version and we also have an exclusive version. So for this one, this is the regular version. What you see is what you get right here. So it comes in this massive detailed base, glow in the dark. All right, this whole thing at the bottom glows in the dark. Right? You like this, and then it comes with this one whole piece. I would say, one whole piece of Alphonse.
Absolutely.
In this fighting ready pose, ready to battle. Yeah.
So, obviously, who was it who asked it? Chris Hildebrand Jr. This is a name I've seen around for many years, all the time in the club, so much appreciated for the support. He obviously knows that we have usually exclusive versions of our pieces, and it's absolutely no different for Alphonse. He absolutely comes with some slight tweaks, not tweaks is the word, some differences between the standard version and the exclusive. And Chocks, why don't we show that right now? In 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. What a cute. It cracks me up every time, Chocks. Yes. Absolutely every time. Let's give that a bit of a spinneroonie. Now, Chocks, what on earth is going on there? Now, let's be clear. There is a lot of comical parts. I mean, FULLMETAL Alchemist has it all. It has this really amazing storyline. It has a lot of sort of intense battle scenes. It has a lot of complicated storylines, to be honest with you, but it also is full of humor. Full of humor, and it's done through either the jokes that they're saying, but also through expressions. And the way that all of a sudden a face that is what what the default face looks like, well, it all of a sudden has a scared face, a happy face, the eyes lighting up,
like blushing.
There's
a scene where he's blushing.
Absolutely, and that's a kind of a Japanese anime thing, but they've really sort of done that in the anime a lot of times. And we said to each other, what would be funny? What this would be funny?
He's like, he's ready for a battle, but not quite ready. It's like sweat.
At the end of the day,
pouring down his face.
Everyone knows he's this badass walking armor, but he is actually just a little kid inside, and he will have these emotions where he will be scared. And how do we portray that? And definitely, it's really nice little addition for the exclusive to come with that.
Yeah.
And what do you see there, Chocks? You see that with these eyes that are completely flat and the face that is flat, almost it's a perfect sort of round kind of shape. And then you have a look at the mouth itself. why don't you talk a little bit about the details on what's painted, what isn't painted, etc.
Yeah, I mean, guys, you can actually feel the lines. The lines have been sculpted in. The eye lines, the circular eyes, they're sculpted in, as well as the mouth, the kind of like kind of like
a zigzag kind of mouth.
Zigzag mouth, and then the kind of like frowning eye lines going down the center, and then kind of the sweat pouring down that's been painted on as well.
Yeah, but the eyes themselves, it doesn't have any texture on the eyes, but there's tons of texture all around the rest of the piece.
Entire head sculpt, there's the same textures.
Except for the eyes.
Yeah.
Except for the eyes, which is completely flat and smooth, because obviously that makes sense. That makes sense.
It just makes it pop as well, those eyeballs.
It does. Yeah. It really does. And, as a result, it's... you saw the sort of worriedness, and it was a lot of that was studying the footage and adding to it, and really had a bit of a fun, playful time. I think most people will probably display with the other one, but every now and then it'd be nice for display.
Yeah, it has a comical sense.
Right, depends on what kind of person is collecting. If you're a bit of a joker, then sort of put in that whole idea of, oh my god, I'm about to have this fight, and a bit of nervousness. And of course, it's not canon to the actual scene that he's based on. Of course, we'll talk a bit about that, but it's his representation throughout the different parts. And remember, the focus on the piece is on Alphonse.
Yeah.
And yes, we have this face, but the first thing you're going to look at is Alphonse, and he's got that worried, scared, cute face.
No, it just shows his true character.
Absolutely.
His character.
Absolutely. It's up to the customer to choose how they want to portray their Alphonse that day, that week, that month. How do you want to display yours? And also, it gives me a great opportunity to talk a little bit more about. Here is the obviously normal head, and you can get a better idea of how that looks. Right now, obviously, I've not included his
hairpiece, because the hairpiece is different on this as well. So
right, this one is sort of coming back a little bit more directly. Now, if you sort of look at the differences of the head themselves, you can sort of better see. And this is what we're talking about, having this pole, and we didn't talk about it before. Having this pole has allowed for you to get it to show the blood seal. We're talking about that. It's because we didn't have the pole going directly under. Didn't have the pole going directly here, because that would have blocked at the back of the. You can see the back of the
collar.
The collar. You wouldn't be able to see the blood seal. So we didn't have it coming directly here. We had it coming out to the side. So as I said, yeah, you can definitely see that when you're looking at some angles, but it's really kept out of the way.
Yeah.
And the fact that his head, when you put it on normally, is to the left of the.
It flushes in to the inner side of the collar, the left side of the collar.
Right.
So honestly, you may see the rod at one particular angle, but for the majority of all the other angles, or looking from above, it still gives off that floatiness of the head.
Of course, and that feeling of the mouth shape, that jagged mouth shape, you have that coming back throughout. You see how that workshops. You've got that down, and then that small. It's almost like
the upper jaw. I don't know. It's like his chin, right? The chin.
Yeah,
area.
but it's almost like like canines, and then you're sporting another what? Is it canines? Yeah, it's sizes. No, canines. Yeah.
Canines.
And then going across and then down like that is still there going throughout the piece on the cute head as well, in exactly the same format. You see that, Chucks?
Yeah.
In exactly the same way, it's got that down, small, down. That kind of effect is going on over there. Now, the thing about Alphonse, right? He's got this kind of. Some people have said, maybe his head is a little bit too long. Actually, if you look at him directly front on like this, it looks correct. But if you bring it down like that, you'll see that he's got quite a long chin, and it makes it look a little bit longer than you might be used to if you're looking at it directly onwards like that. Right? But if you're looking at it directly, because the pose he's a little bit down, so therefore for this piece you can see that. Now, one of the things about this job is this is actually also the exclusive. And what
it comes with the exclusive. So both heads comes with the exclusive.
And in addition to this cute head, the eyes on the normal version, I'll say, the standard looking Alphonse actually does light up as well. Okay. So boom, we've got an added feature in there. Now, due to the nature of having it all being connected and trying to make the pole as small as possible, we engineered it so that actually the battery box is inside the actual piece itself. So you have to pop it off, and then you can actually turn it on. We have a little switch here, up here, which will turn it on. Now, right now we're in super, super bright lights. You can't really see it at all, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure if these batteries are fresh. But we're going to have some overlays, courtesy of Ting. We're going to get that added onto it so you can have a better idea of seeing how that would look. But you know, to be honest with you, you need to be a little bit darker to actually appreciate it, especially because the actual surface area isn't exactly massive. But you definitely, the exclusive one comes with this, and the standard or the regular version doesn't. So let's reiterate that, Chocks, again. Regular version comes with this head, no light up, and this body. The exclusive comes with the additional head. With the different hair. With this.
With the LED lights.
LEDs.
Yeah.
Boom. Alright guys, so that...
Same base as well.
Same base.
Glow in the dark.
Same base, glow in the dark, absolutely. So you have a better idea of how that's gonna look. No, for sure. Whew. Quite a lot of that to show.
Yeah, so for those first time watching this documentary, hope you understand the difference between the regular and the exclusive. So exclusive normally comes with either LEDs or switch out parts, but in this case it comes with both LED and a switch out part.
So we show you how that sort of works. You pull that off, take that off there, and then you have a better idea. Oh, in fact, probably you can see it better.
Yeah, it's much better.
Better to see the blood seal there, right?
Yeah.
You see it?
You should be able to see it. Here you go.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's here. Right in the centre.
If you put your finger on it, somewhere down there. Yeah, you should. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And that is actually it's painted on there.
Yeah.
I think it might be easy if you.
Yeah. There you go. It's got that floaty effect right there. Now I'm not going to add his hair just yet, just while we're doing it like that. So let's just get that nicely lined up. So he's looking straight on like that. Right, cool. All right, Jocks, next question.
Right, next question. Michael Pillen. How did you manage the real versus anime balance look on this statue?
The real versus anime look. So, you know, we talked a little bit about the, I think Mikael is referencing the way that we have this kind of the greyness to it. Now, if you look at the show, a lot of it's just pure grey. It's really hard for them to give the impression of
the anime,
of the anime, to really give the impression of, how do I say, realistic in terms of how armors are supposed to look a little bit shiny or whatever. So absolutely, I appreciate that Mikael has noticed that we've had the added extra sort of metallic wash to it to give it that little sense of more realism. But you know what? Is this so? With Mikael, he's saying it's kind of like a little bit of both, you know, and I agree. But you know what I think, Chocks? Boom! Check it out, guys. Why not both? Indeed, Chocks. Silver version of Alphonse. Look at that. Now, this really is, of course, we're in studio lighting, but look at the way. Let's give this a turn. This one really picks up the light. Now, the one that you saw before, of course, the grey version.
The grey variant.
It had some lovely metallic look to it.
If you love the like the old school style anime style, you know, true to the anime, that is the one for you.
Right.
The grey one.
But if you wanted something a little bit more sort of realistic with that kind of metallic.
How Michael Pillis is real, how he calls it real.
Right, exactly. Mikael, when he said real versus anime, you know what? He said that the grey version, which is what he's referring to, because that's the only one that we've kind of semi-teased, really felt that was quite a mixture of both, where he actually, you know, we sort of agreed but felt it was more towards the anime side, and this one we wanted to say it was more of a realistic look to it, and therefore we pushed the boundaries a little bit further towards that. And of course, what you have here is Chocks, it all over again, but with this beautiful, much more sort of emphasis on the metallic nature of his armor. Really sort of picks up on that realism on there. Of course, all of the same details that you had from the other piece as well, it's all there. However, what used to be more highlights of the blue, it's you don't have any blue in this really, and it's more about how do we take that bright sort of silver look and push it down in a way. I mean, there's a little bit of sort of blue highlights here and there, but if you look at the way that they painted it, it's far better with the. Well, what I mean by it's far better, it's got, instead of the kind of effect of the, can you see the more dirt effect happening in here, just to draw a bit more realism to it?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the other piece was a lot of different shades of blue around the edges, around the rivets, etc. And these ones is more, you have the
a bit more dirty, to be honest with you, Chuck. So I think that's
but some areas you have the bright silver, you know, giving off the real metal feel to it, and then you get within the grooves you have kind of the black wash, and you have some sort of specks of browns and darker blacks around the edges. Just gives off this kind of like, you know, he's been through a battle, because all these scars, scuffs, and it's sort of like he's been hit by lightning or whatever special effects, and you know the whole armor's been through quite a lot of wear and tear.
It has, and you know, which one do you prefer, Jocks?
I like
them
both.
Yeah.
Why not both? Yeah.
Why not both, indeed? So, you know, definitely, and you know, this one has been, when we talk a little bit about that matte effect on the cape, you can really see it much better here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the other one was a little bit, how do I say, I mean, this is much shinier, and therefore the difference between the shininess of, because obviously the grey one was less shiny, but the cloth itself was a little bit shiny, and therefore it was too close to it.
This one's much more matte.
Much more matte, and that's the style that we're going for. It really highlights that anime sketch lines that we see going through the cloth there. I will definitely make sure that the grey version is also like the silver version in that regard. And yeah, you know, definitely was pleased to, you know, sort of get that added to it. And I think with the staining of it, because we were doing it with more realism to it, Jocks, the silver version definitely is on a higher level of realism. Depending on what you want to go for, it's really up to you. We really highlighted the scuff marks inside. If you look at the original grey one, a lot of the sort of lines that are there, of the scuff marks of the lines, we didn't highlight them. It was just still a single colour, because we wanted to be more that sort of grey, and it was highlighted with the blue highlights in certain areas. Whereas this one, we've really tackled, so if we sort of pause this over here. Do you notice, for example, Chucks, have a look at the sort of the details on the sort of cloth, sorry, of the textures, the line textures of the armour. You see it much more going throughout here, up here, it's really some staining.
They're all there, all the scratches are there.
But this time they're actually highlighted and painted, and they're done by a staining method. So we run the wash on top of it, and it really sort of highlights the pittedness of it, much more than the grey one does. But of course that then lets it go towards more of a realism, and that's, you know, maybe you prefer the anime style, maybe you prefer the more realism style. Why not both if you're a massive fan of FMA and you can't decide? You know, that's really there as well. But yeah, we really wanted to give that impression that people could have that choice, because, you know, I think that's kind of important, so people have the choice of what they want to do, of what they want us to do, for sure. Yeah, it's good. And, you know, we can say with absolute certainty that, of course, this is the standard version will have a silver variation of it. No difference with that.
Yeah, still the same glow in the dark base.
Still the same glow in the dark base, and of course, likewise, Jocks. Shows how prepared I was. i.e. not very prepared.
Alright. The exclusive version.
Obviously the exclusive version on the eyes.
Yeah, they
light up
as well. So LED light up head scope for the silver variant.
Absolutely, and of course, no prizes. Chucks over to you. There you go. Take that there.
Yep. LEDs on this one lights up as well, but again, studio lighting is really hard to pick up, but they do light up.
there you go, in real time. And of course, the exclusive version also comes with that.
Comical.
Which, you know, even makes it even more comical, bearing in mind this is supposed to be pure realism, and then all of a sudden he's got this manga cartoon face, anime face on there as well, so it really sort of highlights on that. And of course, the staining method of all the details in that head is also there as well.
Yeah.
So you can better sort of see it. Yeah, so this really is going to be quite interesting to see. Let us know in the comments, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the more grey variation, grey version, or the silver version? I'll be interested to hear your comments. I'm sure Trox will be as well. Let us know in the club, in the comments here on YouTube, and we'll love to hear back from you on that thing right there. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, this is definitely, he's got this great presence, Trox. You've looked at it, you think, you know what, I want the standard version, or I want the exclusive version, I want the grey version, I want the silver version. You've come to a conclusion that Alphonse needs to be in your collection and he needs to be on your shelf. There's going to be some questions, Trox, and that's going to be the measurements of this bad boy. So why don't we do that now? But you know, it's important to consider that this is something that we've been going for, where he is bent over, right? He's bent over.
Slightly hunched.
Slightly hunched, because we wanted to consider people's collections. And actually the footprint of him isn't actually that big, as you'll see from the measurements, because we've given him a squat look, and he's actually really maximizing the width and the depth of all of that sort of stuff. Well, we'll talk about that more after you get to your measurements, but in terms of value for shelf space, it ticks the boxes there as well. So I'm just going to slightly...
Yeah.
Oh. Jesus. So move that very slightly to the side. Okay.
Yes. This is the question from Lasha Diaz. How many soda cans tall is Al?
Indeed. Thank you for that.
Answering you before the question.
There you go, Lasha Diaz. 4 Trox just ain't gonna cut it.
No. 5 cans. Slightly under 5 cans.
Very slightly under 5 cans. Because of
it's
that
not
hair.
One of our tallest pieces.
But because he's so squat and thick, he really has this great presence, great gravity to him. How's that spelled? And you know, definitely. Now, just to let you guys know, this is a 330 ml can for our friends over across the pond in America. You're more used to 355, I believe.
Yep.
So it's very slightly different from that, but you get a better idea, you have a bit of an understanding of his size. All right, there you go. Now, Trox, can you give me some traditional measurements?
Yes. Nice. For the regular and exclusive, they're exactly the same as in height-wise. We've changed. You all right? Yeah, we've swapped the heads around as well, just to make sure that we're going to measure the highest point.
Right.
Yeah. I have that at height-wise, from the bottom of the base to the very, top of the plume. I have that around about 21.5 inches.
Boom! Just shy of 22, 21.5.
Yep. So that's 55 centimeters for the width. That's 0.5. So basically, I've got around the edge of the base to this side of the base, because right now there's nothing sticking further out than the actual base edge itself. That's 18 inches, so that's 46 centimeters. And then for the depth, which is from the front of the base to the back of the base, again I've got that around about 18 inches, 46 centimeters.
Perfectly compact within the size of the base, giving it a beautiful square. I mean, obviously this is 22, but of course 18, 18, 22. It's a beautiful arrangement to be able to keep that all within that size, and it allows for us to really show how that sort of looks in terms of good use of space.
Yeah.
In good use of space. Now, Trox, he's heavy.
Yes.
Make sure you don't put it on a Detolf.
Yes. make sure your other shelvings are strong enough.
Right. Hit me with that
Right.
weight chocks.
I mean, this obviously is a prototype, so when the final product comes out,
maybe some
there'll be
variation.
some variations. You know, this right now the weight is just based on this right now. I have that currently around 15 kg.
Between 14 and 15. Obviously, you need to make sure how it is at production, but yeah, between 14 and 15 kg.
That's right. Heavy.
He is heavy. Whew, all right, Chocks.
Right.
Wow. So, I believe there are some things
Shout?
I need to shout.
Yeah,
What's
so
that all
guys,
about?
yeah, so guys, hope you like the regular version and the exclusive version in the grey variant or the silver variant. Do let us know in the club, in the comments below, which version you would like.
Absolutely.
Alright, shout outs. Guys, so in every single documentary video we make, every single launch one, in the thread that I mentioned earlier in our Collectors Club, First Figures Official Collectors Club, in there I will randomly post a comment asking you guys to reply back to that comment. The first replies will get a shout out from Alex, so here you go.
Shout out to Howard V, congratulations. Elric Ramirez, what's going on, mate? Mikael Pilot, I'm very happy that you got yourself a shout out here. He's been a super fan of this, hounding me every week about this piece.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you got
Which version are you going to get, the real one or the anime one?
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what
They're
you're
both
going to go
real.
for. Lesha Diaz, shout out to you. We've got Rainer Doyle, how's it going? Ryan Rosella, what's going on, mate? Bob Watts, how you doing? Shout out to David Contreras. And last but not least, Jordan Rudy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, all
Done. Did I miss anybody? No.
No?
Oh, there.
Okay, cool.
All right, sweet. So guys, thank you so much for joining us when we've been talking about this piece. Again, as I said, it's been a long time in coming. But one of the things, Chocks, I wanted to talk about is, just before we wrap this bad boy up, is this beautiful base is really, as you said, you can see the beautiful tones and the waves and the shapes.
Yeah.
And it looks great, as you said, really happy with how it came out. But Chocks, when you look at this base, it creates a scene, and it's from a scene in the anime itself, and it's, of course, everybody knows when, Alphonse is fighting against Pride. Now that is a fantastic, fantastic scene. So we thought, you know what, why don't we bring a little bit of that scene from the anime into this piece itself, and we have something to show you in 3, 2, 1. OMG! Now check this out. This really is representative of that fight with Pride. Now you know it totally is in a huge setting, and we wanted to make sure that the fight didn't actually get to the point where, of course, Pride has these amazing sort of tentacle kind of like sharp blades, and they kind of change their hands and they change into these blades, and the way that is there, we wanted to make sure you could see that, but also that it was not to the point where it covers Alphonse.
It wasn't overpowering Alphonse. The focus was still on Alphonse, but this highlights what he was doing at the time.
Absolutely correct. And if you think about the fact that this, as I said, Pride, crazy small little kid, he's taking on this huge, Alphonse, right? But he's got all these little, as I said, these little, hard to say, these things that are flying out at him, but it's over huge areas.
Yeah.
So how could we do it in a way that, as I said, it wasn't flying over and it was taking up all the scenes and you couldn't see it? And of course, he's already big enough, Chocks. How do we do it to make sure it's within that whole ethos of being value for shelf space as well it is for obviously the SLP itself? And check it out, guys. Hopefully you know and recognize the scene we're talking about, and that you like what you see. Let's give that a bit of a spin and let's talk about the details of this, Chocks, which is of course the definitive edition. This is the definitive edition of the silver version. There is of course a definitive version of the grey version as well. And it's for those that wanted to go just a little bit beyond, wanted to have something a little bit more definitive, that had the extra size. They could take the little bit extra size and what have you, and maybe they prefer to display the options like this because some people might prefer just display with the other hands as well. Of course, the definitive version comes with those hands as well. Those two arms, those are two completely separate pieces, and those come with a definitive as well. With a definitive, but the definitive only comes with these two arms as well. Now, maybe, for example, if you were just wanting to only display with the other arms, the standard exclusive version, that's for you. If you wanted to be able to also display it in this style along with the Pride reference, then the definitive is for you as well. So, Chocks, let's talk a little bit about the details here. Let's talk about first the Pride itself. Now, if you look at there's references to Pride. Look at the details of the part of the front. So obviously, if you look at over here, you can really see. What do you see over there, Charles?
Well, from the front. Let's start with this. The details discussed. Right now, you can see the black streaky effects. Some of them are curved, some of them are sharp and angled, and you get that one massive piece to that side over there is curving inwards. These are more like kind of like wavy effect going towards Alphonse.
That's such a fast and intense
scene. These are different patterns for this Pride effect, and then you can see the eyes there, all sculpted, kind of sticking out of these black parts. So you can get them. They're all in different shapes and sizes. Yeah. So how many we've got? We've got 1, 2, 3. There's 3 eyes at the bottom there. Yeah. All looking upwards.
Absolutely.
As they're going towards.
Exactly correct. That was something that we absolutely picked up on to make sure that the eyes were facing the correct direction.
And these are all textured. They all have like wave streaky lines going in and out around these curved edges and these sharp edges here as well.
And if you talk a little bit about the paintwork on that as well, it's not just pure black, is it, Charles?
No. There, and you can see some kind of like a dark purple. Yeah, I would say purple, blue. Yeah, it's more purple lines, coloured lines.
Overall, you would say it's black, which is what obviously Pride's things are like. But there is definitely just some accents on there, and a bit of purpleness, just to sort of add to that as well. That's for sure. So definitely the sort of Pride aspect of it is right here, and it's looking really cool. It makes sense
from underneath the ground.
Yeah, because it's coming up, and well, obviously it comes really from Pride himself, but of course there is no Pride here. It's just this is the way that we could give the intensity of the scene from that part. Now, we can't really talk a little bit about the fact that he's got a sword or that there's something crazy going on in his left hand without really talking a bit more about the scene and the backstory of that. And of course, we just said he's fighting against Pride, and the scene is, Pride is taking out his legs. Alphonse is getting his legs up. He's like catching it and stuff, and it's a crazy battle. I love that scene so much, and I loved it so much I said, let's make a bloody statue out of it, Jokes. And there is a scene where as he transmutates his foot into this sword, and as it turns into the sword, he's getting attacked by Pride, and he gets sort of like it sort of hits him, and then it, like all of a sudden it goes, it bends. It has this really crazy bend to it. At that point, before we connect, and it goes zoom.
See it better.
And that
see it better from here.
Is the reason, the way it sort of goes down. Normally, if this sword was straight, people would boohoo a lot more because it would come out all the way over here and go, oh, it's too big for my display. But actually, where this curves in, it cuts in like that, just like in that scene from the enemy. And it allows for something really cool, to have some interaction with Pride directly in the actual piece itself, the way that curves in. I really like the way that happens.
The way it's connected to
the way it's connected, way it's connected into it. And that's something that I really wanted to make sure that there was some interaction with it as well. Now, if you actually have a look at if you have a look at the details, whilst we're here, let's have a look at some of the details on the actual sword and some of the painting shots. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's let's talk about the handle. Obviously, there's this sculpted, the grips, and then the guard itself. Yeah. Different textures as well on the sword as well. There's like black specks and different shading, weathering. Yeah.
Cool. And you see the...
Yeah, it's like really thick around here. And then the way it bends down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. We wanted to make sure that the bend was at the point of contact with the actual pride, with the actual blade of pride, and that was really kind of important. And yeah, I really like how that came out. Really, really good respect to the anime of how that happens in that scene. Now, that's not just what's going on here, Charles. It's not just an extra right hand. Now, of course, this is the definitive version. You could have the other hand like this, which is the open hand arm.
Yeah.
You could have that, as well as this. You have display options with the definitive version. But in this version, you also have a little something going on in his left hand. And again, in order to better understand what's happening with that, we really need to talk and remember what's happening in that scene. And if you go back to that scene, there's a scene where he has this crazy red sort of flashing happening in his hands, and it's like a decoy of the flash bomb and the Philosopher's Stone all going on at the same time, Chocks, and it's like it happens so quickly, but the energy effect that you get to see in his hand, we really wanted to recreate that beautiful red and to get that feeling of the kind of effects coming out from inside his hand. So tell me a little bit about what you see, because that, my friend, is an engineering nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean,
so when Mikael was asking earlier, what's the most challenging part about this? I'm like, wait until later in the video and I'll tell you about it.
This is one of them. Because right, like Alex was saying, it was gripping onto the item, and then, you know, lights coming through between each fingers. You can see with these different, like 1, 2, 4, like 4 kind of solid, straight rays, right? I would call them rays, right? Light rays, yeah. So they're coming right out between his fingers.
That's right. So it starts small and goes out wide.
It goes out wide between each gap, even the top bit as well, coming out, and the bottom bit of the fist. And apart from that, you also have the kind of like a jagged light as well, which looks like lightning, with the kind of a more rough edges going out as well. Kind of the middle section of the explosion, we'll call it. And then you have the kind of moon shape, kind of half dials, curving around between those two different types of effects. So there's actually 3 different shapes for this whole effect going on. And you know, you have the kind of lightning shape sticking out of the moon shape curves, and yeah, there's a lot going on there, like all over. Like
a lot. Now again, as I said, you could, for example, have this hand with the standard regular version, which is one like that, and you could have that next to each other as well. You have choices in the definitive version. You can choose
2 sets of hands,
2 sets of arms that can make quite a big difference in your display choice. So that is the reason why, of course, it is a definitive. Everything that is being definitive, you must have everything that is obviously in the standard and the exclusive in one package. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the definitive. Of course, it does have it. So that's where we're at with that. Now, Chocks, there is actually just literally because of this scene, we've had to engineer Alphonse that there is a wire connection that goes all the way through this arm, all the way up to here,
all the way through the leg,
all the way through the leg, all the way through the middle. And these are all made in parts, Chocks, so you have to assemble them. It's kind of, you know, it's not insignificant, because right now at the back, boom. Now it's hard to see, right? But this actually lights up his hand to give a bit of light to it, and you can see that there is light within the hand. Now it's in a dark room. Tim, please do some overlays to better sort of see how it looks in a darker environment. Of course, we have the studio lighting over here, and you have a better idea of how the hand is. If you look a little bit about the sculpting as well, Chops, the hand is kind of like it's not like a fist.
Not a fist, but kind of slightly
open
yeah.
because it's holding,
yeah.
it's holding everything inside, and the idea of that. So it's got that kind of openness to it, and also to allow for the rays to come shooting out from the hands. They really give that really powerful scene. Again, the lighting effect is really kind of taken out by this over here, but certainly it's definitely there, and it really helps add to the piece overall. So, definitive edition. Do you want to go with the head like that for Alphonse? Do you want to go for the cute scared face? Do you want to have this hand? Do you want to have the one with the effects in the left hand with the red effects, or do you want to have on the right hand? Do you want to be using the fist, or do you want to be using the sword? Really is quite a lot of different choices. And also forgot to mention that this is removable, so you can put it on, or maybe you don't want to have one. You can actually remove Pride if that's not what you want to have. It's really up to you in the definitive version.
Yeah.
You can really sort of choose how you want to do it. So we hope that you like that aspect of having this definitive. We really wanted to make sure that it really added, and we weren't just adding it for adding's sake. We wanted to make sure it had a reason, it had a place, it had a story. It really kind of put Alphonse more into that scene. As I said, there is a lot of choice. What I just said there is definitive for the silver version. The grey version also has that as well. So there is a lot of things that you guys will need to take your time to think about which is the version for you. Of course, why not both? But of course, the reality is most people will be choosing one version. If it's going to be the silver, or if it's going to be the grey, if it's going to be the standard, is it going to be the exclusive, is it going to be the definitive? There are a lot of different choices. Now, we will be offering, for those that are interested in getting both versions, a combo for both the exclusives and the definitives. Is that correct?
That's right. So the combo for which I would call it the exclusive combo, will be one grey version and one silver version of the exclusives.
Of the exclusives.
And the definitive combo will include the definitive edition, the grey one, and one definitive edition, the silver one.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, I forgot to mention also there is of course the symbol on his shoulder, as there would be on the other version as well. Yeah. So you know what, Chocks? That really is what it. That is what it comes with the definitive. I think what I want to do is let's just do a bit of a comparison between as we're just talking about the combos. Why don't we just put
the grey version
next to the silver version, and we'll keep this as the definitive version, and we'll have the exclusive version of the grey one next to it. Okay? Why don't we just pause that here, and then we'll come back to you in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. Of course, we now have the silver one, of course, by Chocks, and of course we have the grey over by me. Now this, of course, this is the standard version right now. The exclusive version, as we know, comes with the different head, which is over here. Of course, with the light up feature on the eyes itself. So this is really mainly to sort of put them next to each other to sort of see the difference between the two versions of at least the colouring, and to sort of have a better idea. Just get them back on that base. Okay, so why don't we give it a bit of a turn so you can have an understanding that this arm could be here for the definitive version. You could swap out these arms, and likewise for the hands. We thought it was a good way to show you guys. So, Iron Chocks, we carefully engineered this so we don't hit each other. So why don't you turn it to,
Yeah.
Oh, can I go at the same time as well? Ooh.
Yeah. Should be okay.
Okay. hold on, I'm gonna catch up.
Alright.
I'm not catching up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh. No. Oh. Right, your turn.
There you go.
Check it out. And you really sort of see the difference between the ignoring the pittedness, just to give it more of an anime style, rather than adding it more for the realism style on that sort of stuff over there. Just turn it a bit more like So, Jocks, that's sort of where we're at. Why don't we slightly turn this so you're not getting like, turn it on.
That's fine. Look at that.
Okay, turn it like that. All right, cool. So I believe we have a few more questions before we wrap this up.
All right, cool. A couple more questions.
Yeah.
Michael Pillett, how likely is it to have a future FMA SD line down the road? I think it would be so appropriate.
So you know what? So the SD line is something that we do in PVC. It's traditionally a lot smaller.
Super deformed.
Super deformed. It's a lot smaller, a lot more accessible. And whilst we don't have anything in the plans right now, we really want to see how he gets on. And then if that's something that people really want to do, we would more than love to discuss that with the licensor. And actually go beyond SDs, actually also do TFs as well, which stands for True Form, which is more in this sort of style. Both versions would be really cool. If people want that, you know, we would love to do that as well. So yeah, let's see. I think we'll know sort of very shortly.
Okay, moving along. From John Shirley, how to consider having the base be able to connect to Edward's base once he is completed? And Michael Lai, will Ed have a similar base?
So, you know, of course it's important to consider the fact that they are, you know, brothers and all that sort of stuff, but however, we wanted to really focus on their own scenes, and for this one is the how do I say it, the sort of unifying aspect of the pieces when put next to each other will of course be the bottom of the base, and we're talking about from this section downwards, and one of the things is, of course, we'll be changing the symbol over here as well. And then, of course, Ed will be doing his thing, and we've got some great plans for that. One thing before we wrap this up, Shocks, we had a conversation ourselves, thinking that what we might want to do is actually add the kind of blue-grey effect that we have of the grey version and apply that to this section here and this section here. It's a possibility. Or maybe we'll probably stick with the same, but if that's something that you would like to see, we'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? Would you like to see this section here to be how this is silver and it matches more the silver version, or would you like to see this more in the kind of grey effect? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that for sure. But yeah, it looks like almost like I've lost my partner. I think I'm sort of doing this with Alphonse, kind of.
So fine. See you in the next video.
All right, Shocks, anything to add before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, not really. I think if you want more information, make sure to check out our website. We have a blog section there where we will highlight how to pre-order, how to validate this wonderful setup here. So for any future launches, make sure to check out the blog, make sure to check out our website, Facebook, Collectors Club, anything with regards to FULLMETAL Alchemist Brotherhood. Hit us up in the club. We're in the club every single day to answer your questions.
And there's one last thing, because we're so good like this. How big is that, Jocks?
How big is what?
The definitive edition.
Yes. Right, measurements for this one, yeah, because with the special effects on his left arm and with the pride effects sticking further out, the height is ever so slightly higher because the plume is already...
It's the highest point.
The highest point. So I'll give or take half an inch there. So I would say 22 inches for the height, which is 56 centimeters. All right. For the width, which is going across, including the pride effects, I have that around about 22 inches. So that is much wider compared to the regular and exclusive edition. So it's 22 inches at 56 centimeters. And for the depth, it's around about 2 inches deeper. So that's 20 inches. And that's 51 centimeters.
Still a nice sort of square, compact square.
Still pretty much, yeah.
Especially because of the size of him. Of course, in case we didn't really talk about this, he's in 1/4 scale.
Mm-hmm.
Put that at the beginning of the video. Don't worry. He's in 1/4 scale, and a 1/4 scale would imply that if someone is standing straight and they were 6 foot tall, which is significantly taller than us, it would be 18 inches. Now the fact is he's squatting down and he's already at 20 odd inches. Implies that if he's standing up, he would be towering above a typical 6 foot human.
Yeah.
Which we know is the case. We know that's the case, and you know, that's where we're at with that. So in terms of the sizing, and because we've gone down the route of having our anime pieces in 1/4, it made sense for the rest of them to also continue that trend. And if we were to do SDs or TFs and the PVCs, that would be in a much more smaller scale for that. So yeah, you know, Chocks, a lot of information for these guys to digest. Again, you may have questions. You need to make sure you comment at the club, ask us in this YouTube video, ask us on Facebook. We'll be there to answer that. But guys, it's been 2 years in the making. We really hope you like what you see. It's been a really big, passionate project for us, and so pumped that we're finally here. Finally. All right, Chocks, that's another one done. All right, guys, I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Chuckles.
F4F is love.
F4F is life.
I will see you in the next one. Peace.
Laters.